My Life as I Remember It, Chapter 2, Part 6, The Big House. Two stray dogs came to our house. We started feeding them, and they became our dogs. Those were junkyard dogs and mean. They tried to bite everybody who came near our house. Finally, Dad said, "Those dogs are too mean, and we've got to take them someplace and set them out." We loaded them in the car and found the most remote spot on the road to Middlesboro. We set them out of the car and drove off. Those dogs were the saddest sight I think I have ever seen as we were driving away. They looked like they were trying to figure out what was going on. I can remember crying that night, missing those dogs. The next evening was no different, and I think Dad was missing the dogs also. Dad finally said, "Let's go get the dogs before we all go crazy." We hopped into the car and went to the location where we had dropped the dogs, and behold, they were there waiting for us. I believe those were the happiest dogs in the world when they saw us. Those dogs eventually contracted, or I think one of them contracted rabies, and I can remember one of them, maybe both of them, running around the house with foam coming out of their mouth. And it's a miracle we didn't get rabies from those dogs. And when I think of that, that's about the most scary thing that I can think about my childhood, because I must have been 6 years old at the time. The creek ran behind our house, and the main railroad going to Egan, Tennessee was located just over the creek on a hill. Above the railroad was the main road to Egan, the road I used that day to get gas for my tricycle. I made a video about this, but I'm just going to add it, just a short blip in this one. One day I was standing in the yard looking over at the railroad, and I saw Jesus walk down from the road and walk up the railroad toward Egan. I know it was Jesus because this young boy had seen paintings of Jesus hanging on the walls in churches and most of the mining camp homes. I'm looking at Graham. He was running at something. This person I saw looked identical to Jesus' pictures. I know I did not see Jesus. It was just one of those childhood imaginations running wild. I don't have many memories of my brother Jim during this time. He was working in Baltimore, Maryland, and during one of his trips home, he gave me a toy pistol made of compressed sawdust. During the war, you could not purchase many toys made of metal because metal was rationed. After playing with the sawdust pistol a few minutes, the barrel broke completely off. Kids playing Army did so with toy guns without barrels. It was extremely rare to see anyone with a non-broken barrel. Today, I am sure one of those sawdust guns in mint condition would be a collector's item and worth several dollars. Arlie was married to Arvel, who was in the Army during World War II. He was stationed in Texas before going overseas. He was stationed in New Guinea. He came home on leave, and I thought he really looked sharp in his uniform, and this before he went to New Guinea. Arlie went out to Texas to live with him before he shipped out to the South Pacific. Arlie has some exciting stories to tell about that trip by bus to Texas. Saturday night was a big event in the mining camp, and several people walked to Egan to the picture show. That's what we call the movies then. People hung around the commissary and tipple talking. Lots of romancing and fighting occurred during those weekend nights in Anthrace.